crack all the way around. I'm guessing that this bearing's shot. We keep finding problems, and this is a new problem. Hey, Dave here. Welcome back to Rolling Hills Farm. You see we're back in the shop getting ready for the next phase of our restoration of our 1974 Versatile Swather. You see we've got tubs underneath the drive towers getting ready to drain the oil and attack the next big phase, blown bearings and leaks. So before I get started with part 2 of the repair video, I've gotten a lot of questions from people about why we even bother to use a swather. Everybody these days uses a straight cut combine and combines the grain without taking the step to swathe it. Well, we used to do it that way, and I want to show you something. This is our straight cut combine. Sitting here in the weeds waiting to be cut up for scrap. And the reason this combine is here is basically, well, we destroyed it running grass, uncut grass and grain through this combine. It just was so hard on it. We did so much damage that eventually this combine just wouldn't work. It would have been too expensive to rebuild it. We've made a decision to not spray for weeds. So we get weeds in our oats, and trying to straight cut oats, well, a picture's worth 1,000 words. The swather cuts the grass and the grain at the same time, and you get a chance to dry it out for a day or two so that when it goes through the combine, it's nice and dry and does less damage to the combine. But it also, you end up with a much higher quality grain that we can sell without having to dry down and without being full of weed contaminants. So if you remember part 1, we did a lot of cosmetic work and adjustments, particularly to the drive system, because it's been driving erratically and getting worse. So we made quite a few improvements. Well, in taking the header off, we discovered this. That bearing looks absolutely lunched in there. That's the primary drive chain for the left side. It's down in here. So that's got to be taken care of. Okay, here's a cleaned up pillow block from the left-hand drive, and I've been able to find a couple of replacements. Oh, that's disgusting. And no wonder it's leaking. The gasket is totaled out. That's not good. There's a keyway in that axle. It's not doing its job. Well, that's bad news. That's what's left of the keyway. And the shaft has been kind of eaten up. Well, the easy thing to replace, the hub, is in good shape. The axle, I'd say, is destroyed. Luckily, when we broke the axle on the other side 10 years ago, I had one made for this side. Let's go see if I can find it. It's rusty, but just a little wire brushing will take care of that. There's the slot for the bolt. And there is a replacement axle. There. So you see where I took out this keyway, and then this spacer goes in there, and there's another keyway there. But what I can't figure out is, where is the seal? I see the bearing into the parts cleaner with everything. I want everything spotless. With time, what you see is it'll start to look like this. It turns from greasy gunk to red. Well, this pillow block was not turning the bearing in here, and so I'm in the process of hammering it out, and I don't know how well you can see. I'm going to get a flashlight here. A crack all the way around. I'm guessing that this bearing is shot. You know, this is a Canadian-built Versatile. I'm not sure where I'll get the parts for this, but I think these bearings are probably just standard. If I can get numbers off of them, I'm hoping that from my local bearing supplier, I'll be able to get everything I need to reassemble this. We've got the left axle blocked up, still waiting for that bearing, and the right drive tower is here and looks pretty good. I don't feel any play in there at all. Everything seems pretty tight. So this is the one that we replaced the axle on some years ago and did those bearings. And so as I'm looking up here on the upper drive pulley, it's really smooth. I can't see any problems at all. All right, my bearing has arrived, finally. So let's get a look at it. So this is the replacement bearing for here. And it appears to be fitting. Well, before I just go jamming it in there, let's make sure it goes on this new axle without a problem. Oh, look at that. It's just nice. The pillow block does not have a grease fitting on it, but I see the new bearing has a slot all the way around for grease. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my handy can of bearing grease, and I'm going to gunk up that slot all the way around. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. I'm sure somebody will tell me it if it's not. The wheel on. So I'm lining the axle inside the gear. You can see the keyway, the silver rectangle in the gear. And then on this side, you see the axle stub sticking out, and the bearing will slide on there. There are no seals on this lower drive system. The dealership looked up and said there were no seals in the system. All you've got is that little ring right there that fits inside that hole. If you try O-rings, which I did, I bought O-rings to put on to slide over the axle here, then the cap on the one side and the wheel on the other side can't go on tight enough. There's zero clearance for O-rings. So the way you keep this system from leaking is the oil stays down below this level. and you really don't need much oil in there. It's just a splash lubrication system for this chain. And as long as that chain is riding in oil, it'll splash to the upper chain and keep the whole system lubricated. And it really works. Boy, if you happen to leave one of these tops open, which I've done after filling it, and you go down the road with this chain exposed, or you go across the field, it throws oil all over. Let's get this bearing system in. All right, torque them down, opposite sides first, to 60 foot-pounds. So here's one of the challenges of working with this old equipment. Obviously, this is a 50-year-old swather and a brand new machined axle. Well, with a Keyway in there, there's a lot of play. Rather than use the original key stock, I've got this taller half-inch key stock, and it fits nicely in the axle. The additional height will take up the slop in here. See how nicely that fits in there? There. Now with the bolt back in, oh, no movement at all. Oil pans are on, and we're ready to fill with oil. They call for 30 weight oil in here, and so I'm just going to dump a little bit in just to make sure I don't have any leaks. So there, step one of this project complete. The drive system of this swather is finished, put together, and now we can pull it out of here and get on to step two of the project, which is getting the header in and doing rehab work on the header. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about this machine. I hope you found it interesting. I really enjoy rehabbing old equipment, and I think there's a real opportunity for small farmers like myself to take old equipment like this, which is relatively inexpensive, and rehab it, turn it into a usable piece of equipment that can last for many years to come. Up next, the header. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll stick with us and see what issues we run into there.